let's get started as we normally do. Thanks you guys very much for taking some time off of your busy, schedules and showing up here to join us. Lots of goodies as usual. I go through introductions and stuff like that, even though we know, have been here before, we know what these are, but I do that for the video online sake. I'm still Claudio La Sala, same guy who went from beginner to intermediate and been riding for several years on the street and then eventually moved to the track. All my experience in riding on the street didn't help me at all. I was just had a friend of mine watching some of my videos from MSRH. That was our last track day, and one of the things he pointed out is like, yeah, that thing that you were doing there on Diamond's Edge. I'm like, yeah, I know exactly what you were saying, and that's from 25 years of street riding. Because he said, have you noticed that you were like back on the throttle before that first apex on Diamond's Edge? I said, yes, I know, and that's something that I have to deliberately practice, because it's the street riding thing, right? You scrub off speed and you look around the corner to see what's going on, and then you go back on the brakes, and well, on the track you don't have to do that, right? You just throw brake all the way and then you get back on the track. So I still have a lot of that. That's like a crescent, little bend. I'm always like shaving off all the speed that I can before I turn in, because I'm like looking over, like, oh, it's safe to go back, get back on the throttle. It's like, no, you just keep on going, yeah. Right? But it doesn't come naturally, what these meetings are all about. Last month I did like a in-depth, detailed version of this. Here for just registration or for recording's sake. 3 ways to become a better rider. 1, just go out to the track and ride, not on the street, not the best way to learn about riding. 2nd, work with instructors in class, have them follow you, work with them, listen out to what they have to say as far as feedback. I've learned a lot from that. I always make a point to at least work with 1 instructor every time I go up. I've worked like with 3 instructors the same track day, as long as they are available and I have something that I would like to work with somebody and get some feedback, I always do that. I don't care. I mean, even after like getting bumped to level 3, I still rather go back to level 2 and have some in-class, let's analyze video footage, let's work with people who have been doing that way longer than I have, and they for sure have a lot of knowledge to give me, and I'll definitely tap into that. And then outside of that, of course, whatever you do, like coming out here, sharing all your learnings and things like that, that's what these meetings are all about. Agenda for today. So we're going to be going over mostly like tips for non-first timers, because that's what we are here. Continuing on with my the road to the fast group storyline that I'm going with. I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on the, using action cameras, because something that strikes me as interesting is that a lot of people have been running action cameras at the track, but they don't do anything useful with it. So I essentially share how I've evolved the different ways that I've been using and what I'm using it for, and I hope to hear from you guys as well. And of course, crash experiences. We're going to be sharing some of our own crash experiences, recent, not fun, but it's good to share that, because we've all learned from those experiences, and we should let other people know about it so that they don't fall into the same mistakes. So the very first several meetups here, I was like going month by month, possibly, explaining how I did in level 1, the kinds of lessons that I've learned every time I went out to the track. The very first track day, the very first time riding in the rain, the very first time with new tires, with this, that, or the other, because every time I come out of a track day, I have plenty of notes. So there's always something that I can be, look, that one day I know exactly what I've worked on, what didn't work, what worked well, what I've learned, people I've met. I have that all written down. There's always a lesson to be taken from that. So that's what I want to do here. Going with so first I've focused on the level 1 stuff, And then I mentioned last year from January to October, I did 11 track days in level 1, because that was the thing, right? First track day, I thought, 25 years of street riding, I'm gonna go there, be fast, and go to level 2 like that. Once I've learned that it was not like that, I said, you know what? I'm gonna just take my time. I'm not in a hurry. I'm not thinking about going racing or anything like that. I just wanna learn this thing and see how well I can actually do. So I've realized that it's like, okay, let me take my time, you know, starting from that kind of thing, and then eventually, you know, getting better, you know, that's the kind of stuff I use Blair's photos for. It's not, you know, just comparing on the same turn or same setup. Okay, what can I improve here on this picture the next time I go out? That's what I use my photos for. At the end of the year, I was really planning of, you know, on closing the year in level 1. But in November, I mentioned that a couple of months ago, I actually felt that I was ready to go to level 2. And then I said, okay, I'm gonna do that. So I did the last track day of the year in level 2 at COTA. Did it pretty well. I actually, at the time before doing that, I had some level 2 buddies coming up to me and saying, you know, looking at your tire wear, I'm like, how do you know that? But they would say, looking at your tire wear, you're probably gonna go in level 2 and be like at least mid-pack. You're not gonna be the slowest guy on the track. Because that was one thing that I had in my mind. It's like, I don't know if I wanna go there and be the third or the slightest bike on the track. That's gotta suck. And then these two guys, they said, hell no, dude, you see. And really, that's what I felt when I rode in level 2B in COTA. So I explained, you know, a couple of months ago that my first free session was actually in 2A. And I was getting past like willy-nilly, and it's like, that's what I was expecting. When I realized that I was in the wrong group and I went to 2B, I was the one doing the passing. I'm like, oh, okay, that's not so bad. That's kind of cool, right? So that was interesting. And at the end of the year, Blair does this thing that, you know, once you've reached, I don't know how many purchases within a year, he always gives you some sort of special. Last year, and I don't know if it's the thing that he does every year, the same thing, but he offered me a big poster, right? So I just pick the photos, send it to him, and he makes this big poster. So I have like a big poster like this. Cool. So I took the time to say, okay, let me go back to all my photos and see things that will make me remember exactly what I felt, you know, at whichever one of those. So, for instance, that very first one, the very first track day, right? Looking like a street rider, pretty much, right? Like that. Still from the same one, that second one, but it shows me like on the right hander, right? And then here at COTA, that was like number 5, track day number 5. I'm like, okay, that's looking a little bit better, right? And that was on right-handers, because for me, right-handers always have been easier. And that showed, and I'll show you on the videos, it shows like how comfortable I'm going right, and then when it's left, it's like, what the heck, right? And the photos showed me that. I was not feeling that on the bike, on the track, but the photos showed that, and of course the videos. And then here was like the first time when I saw pictures that on my left-handers, I actually looked somewhat decent. Like, okay, that compared to what I had on the first ones, much better. And then that one was the very first one in level 2, right? And the big one, that was from track day number 5 or 6, I don't remember, but that's when I was actually happy with a photo of mine. Because up until then, I was seeing stuff like this, like, that looks ridiculous. That looks nothing like the guys on MotoGP. Just nothing. Well, right? That is pathetic, dude. Right? But anyways, when I saw that one, it's like, okay, now I think it's coming together. I'm starting to see like foot position, you know, the leg locked on the tank, the arm resting on the tank here, my head, you know, low and to the side. I'm like, okay, now it's starting to come up. So that was a good thing for me to like make sure that I remember, like 10 years from now, I can look back and say, okay, this is what year 1 looked like for me. Because I keep saying that whenever, you know, somebody who's just doing their very first track, they come and ask me for whatever, I try to let that person know that, look, if today I'm riding like this, 15 months ago it was like that. It's the old, do not compare your beginning to somebody else's middle, right? You have to know how that person, what kind of lessons that person has learned before he got there. Oh, that guy, man, he is, you know, dragging his elbow. Yeah, but it didn't start that way, right? So this kind of stuff to me is important. Always remember where you come from. Don't forget the lessons that you've learned the hard way. So anyways, started track day season in February. Very first one was in at MSRH. It was really cold, right? It was a short day that day. A lot of riders, they just don't ride in February because it's cold. The track has, you know, very bad grip. So a lot of people just don't even sign up. And I saw that because in level 2, oh, it's down here, I'm gonna get to it. There were 15 bikes on the track. At MSR8, 15 bikes in level 2. Man, you have the track for yourself pretty much. Yeah. Right? It was like delicious.
You won't see anyone. You'll do a whole lap and not see anyone.
Yeah, that's how it felt. It's like, where's everybody? You know, that's how it felt.
I missed the checker.
Yeah, right? And for me, yeah, and for me, I was a little bit nervous because it's like, okay, I know I did level 2 at COTA, but since at COTA they split level 2B and 2A, at MSRH I thought, okay, that's gonna be, I don't know, crazy, right? I didn't know exactly what to expect, right? Because it would be every level 2 guy, the slow guys, the fast guys, all in the same group. But that day I didn't feel a thing because very few bikes on the track. But one thing that came out of it, new tires, right? So I did, in level 1, when I first got my bike, I was running these tires. What are those, Dunlops? It's whatever
Q2s
I had on the bike when I bought it. This was like after 2 or 3 track days. They did look, you know, pretty new. So I did that. After a couple of track days, somebody looked at the tires. It was not like this. And the guy said, well, yeah, you should really look into getting new tires. It's not gonna be good for tracks, for the track. So I said, okay, you know, after a lot of research, go online and ask people around, decided to go with the Russell 2s, right? Because, you know, telling people, okay, this is my pace, I'm still a beginner, just did like 2 or 3 track days, you know, what should I be looking into getting? Well, there's the Russell 2s, there's this, there's that, so let me try that. Ran those through the entire year for 8 or 9 track days or something like that. But then for this year, I decided, okay, let me go one step up, right? I don't want to go slicks, I don't want to go super Corsas. I want to just go one step up. I don't want to make a big change. And then I was recommended the Russell 3s, right? Now, imagine how I was feeling going to the track that was really cold, you know, no grip, on new tires, right? First time in level 2 at that track, I was like, man, that's gonna be interesting. So I rode like, I took really easy that morning, worked out well, I mean, no scares or anything like that. Picked up the pace like within 2 or 3 sessions, but still not going, you know, like summer pace, because you actually feel the bike, you know, kind of loose. It's, yeah, it can get pretty scary. That was one thing regarding tires. The other thing was, year 1, I was using this kind of back protector, the one that, you know, it's a insert, right? Which worked well, but then later, you know, it's like, maybe I should move up to something, you know, just a little better. Again, I'm getting faster, you know, so the risk starts, you know, going up. Let's go get something better out there. And also, you know, very often, I have my lovely wife at the track seeing what other people are using, and she mentioned, you know, I'm seeing a lot of people using this kind of back protector. Aren't those better? I want you to come back, you know, in one piece. So maybe you should look into that. And thank you very much. So that's what I did. So that was the first time running this kind of back protector, which I really like, very comfortable. I forget that it's, you know, back there.
Did you order it online?
Yes, it was on Revzilla,
okay.
I think. Right, it's like $190, something like that. It is kind of pricey, but you actually feel it, right? in the sense that, okay, this, it feels like it's gonna protect me if I need it, but when you're riding, you don't feel it like all weird out. Just the way it adjusts your body, it feels just good. Because before that, I tried the Alpine Star, the vest thing. I didn't like that. It felt like, okay, it's a stronger t-shirt. That's how it felt in my body. It's like, if I go down, that thing is not gonna protect me. It doesn't feel like it. So I didn't like it. And a lot of people were raving about it online. So I tried it. I said, no, I don't want it. And then I got this one, and this one I actually enjoyed it.
Do you have a chest protector?
I don't. That's
I have one.
next thing on my list.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys use back protectors?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, back and forth on the chest. I mean, even with the chest in the back, I mean, when I put it on, when I'm ready to go out there, it's tight a little bit, but then when you're in the
You don't
zone,
feel it.
it's the last thing you think about.
Yeah, I mean, for
Yeah.
I
back
don't have-
protector,
I don't have
track day number 1, I already had it. It's
Wow.
like, I need
Wow.
this. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Okay.
Definitely get something, you
Yeah.
know, that's gonna protect you. Chest protector, it's been on my list. It's like, I just need to find one that's gonna, I need to get a new suit and then get, you know, something that's gonna feel good. Which one are you guys using?
I have one, well, it came with my suit,
Ah, okay.
but it's like a little insert. I just put it
Okay.
in, zip it up, and it does feel tight, but like you said, when you get on the bike, I don't
Yeah.
feel it.
Yeah, and I mean, this one, I think when I bought it was like $75 or something like that, and it's very sturdy. I mean, you put it there, it's like, okay, this thing should protect me.
No, I have that for the street jacket that I'm stuck
Yeah.
in. I'm gonna have to set
Good.
it.
Yeah, so those were like the main things that I was doing on that first one earlier in the year. But I only did 4 sessions, first one being round robin, because it rained in the afternoon. And the cool thing for me was that I went there with a plan, as I normally do. It's like, okay, I want to work on my line through the following corners. I drew them on my notepad. I want to work on my feet position on the bike, and I want to work on, I don't remember what the third thing was. And as I was going into each session, I was looking at like, this is what I'm going to be working on. So by the time that we were in the 4th session, I had already checked the 3 main things that I wanted to work on. Towards the end of the 4th session, it happened that weird thing where you go through a set of turns, it's dry, and then you go around like the keyhole, it's raining, right? So, and I mean, you're coming fast, like, okay, dry, 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 and it's like, whoa, why is the bike so weird underneath me? It's because it had been raining already for the last like minute or so.
The last
That was a
minute?
weird feeling. Yeah, because I mean, you know, at the time I was it was taking me like 2 minutes and 10 seconds to do a lap. So I go through one area, you know, I go by it, it's dry, make all the way around. Next time that I go through it,
Wet.
it's wet.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good, man. It really does not feel good. When I felt the bike like moving, I said, okay, this is it. I pit in, I look at my thing, okay, check, 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 I'm done. You know, that's it. Just knowing when to say, this is it. I'm not gonna push any further. All right, so I was pretty happy with the progress there, so that was all good. So that was part of that chapter. Moving on, using action cameras, right? I see people asking on online forums and all that, where to mount the camera, front of the bike, front facing, rear facing, on the tank, on the tail, on the helmet, chin, up, all sorts of things, and you know what to do with that kind of footage, and how to go through all of that footage. It's like, oh man, if we do like 7 sessions or 6 sessions, there's a lot of video. Who watches those videos, right? Sometimes I get asked that question, like, now I'm seeing you running 2 cameras. When do you ever watch those videos, right? Well, how do you find time for that? Well, I have techniques that will optimize that kind of stuff, right? So I'm gonna go over, you know, the current setup that I have and how I got there. Jason has just started also using the chin-mounted camera. I stole a clip of one of your videos
Yeah,
to have it here so that you can help me, you know, talk through the experience.
Chin mounted in the helmet.
Yeah, right here. It's a
Oh,
little
really?
GoPro session. It's
And
cute.
is it allowed in Rosman?
Well,
Yeah,
it is
because I have a
there.
safety wire
Oh, okay, you
that
safety wire
screws
to-
into
okay.
the helmet itself.
All right.
Yeah. So at first, that's how I used to use my camera, right? Because the Prism, it has a support. I can either put like on top or right here on the side. And that's how I started using. Now, looking at this picture, what am I doing that it's usually the thing that Blair says, don't do this?
Look at him.
Yeah. So this is images from my very first track day. I mean, you see me like looking straight at him. But yeah, rookie's mistake, right? But anyways, that's how I started setting my camera at the track and the kind of video that it was showing. And then of course this was not the first track day, it was my first at COTA, but this is the kind of view, and it didn't help me that much. I was hoping it would help me like seeing if I'm turning my head and kind of see like where am I looking. But of course you can see it from my right ear's standpoint or point of view. It's not exactly helpful doing it that way. And I mean, you can clearly see that I was not moving on the bike much. That's another thing that you can see from this kind of footage. A much better way, of course, to do that, it's, oh, and by the way, one reason I stopped using the camera like this, asking Randy, the lead instructor with Ride Smart, whether it was okay to have the camera there. He said, it's okay as long as it's like screwed to the helmet. There's no way for the camera to come out. But then he said, we do not recommend it though, because if you come down and you hit your helmet right where the camera is, you're preventing the helmet from doing what it's designed to do, right? Because I mean, your point of impact is going to be the camera, not the helmet. So it may be, you know, potentially dangerous.
Can't spread it out.
Exactly, right? So I was like, meh. So while I was going like slow pace, I was using it. Once I started like feeling that, okay, I'm going a little bit faster now, I'm like, yeah, let me look at other ways to use it. Now, a great way, of course, is the way that Jason started using here, right there, mounted on the chin, like that. Now that kind of footage is really cool, right? I mean, of course, you can see the turtles, right, when you go by. Like I saw at the MSRH, Jason was by a turtle right there, right? But the reason why this vision is very cool is that you can see where his head is, and whenever he's like turning his head to look someplace else, you can kind of like guess where he's looking.
Yeah.
That is
So
awesome.
I was using that flagpole of my vision, my preference
See,
point.
you start thinking about what are the
I'm
references.
gonna use the tower now.
Right?
Because turn one is the issue with me. I couldn't get a good reference point in that turn. Okay.
Exactly. Right? And this kind of stuff is like, oh man, he's doing this thing, but he's already looking way out there. Right? Like going through the S's, you can see when he goes like left, you know, move over to right, and then back to left again. I think this is really good. And just seeing like how low he goes with his head, where he's looking, like this one is a good one. When you go up turn 8 is also cool because it's a increasing radius, right? But you're already looking way up there,
Yeah.
right? So that kind of view I really like. What do you have to say about that? And once you started using it, how does it work for you?
So the only real problem I had is, and this may just be me playing with the mount, is that it sits a little bit below my helmet, and when I'm tucked at the very beginning of the video on a straight,
Do you feel it hitting?
it hits the tank
Oh.
and it knocks off my concentration.
Oh, okay.
It does that, and the other problem is, by the end of the weekend, when I was removing the GoPro, the mount that was holding it to the little screw, you know, that goes in, had cracked from the impact with the tank. So you know how the GoPro has those two little locking tabs?
Yeah.
Those little plastic tabs.
Mhm.
One of them had broken off.
Oh, wow.
But you
For
really
that
have
camera-
to work on it to break it, actually, yeah.
What's that?
You really have to work hard on it to break it because it's
Well,
kind of
you have to remember, you know, some of those bumps, you're hitting pretty hard.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And that's a weakness, I think, in that mount. So after one weekend, it was toast. That's the only downside of the chin mount. Other than that, I love the angle because, like you said, I can see where I'm looking. So when I'm studying,
Yeah.
I know wherever the camera's pointing, that's where my eyes are looking.
Yeah.
It's not to the right,
Pretty
it's not
much,
to the
yeah.
left,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
my
good.
head. I mean, it's pointed right at where I'm going.
And to see at what point you are turning your head, right?
Yeah,
Because then
so-
you can like sort of hear when you're going on the brakes and things like that, and see where you're looking, where exactly are you turning.
Exactly. So it's a great angle. Just keep in mind that, especially if you get the bigger GoPros,
Oh.
they even have more mass, maybe way more.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way to mount it so it's more flush and not as low as mine was.
Gotcha.
And that way I can still do my tuck
Right.
and not be hitting the tank and knocking my concentration.
Yeah, I've had that. I will show how that's being a problem for me as well. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah, and then next, what did I do? I started setting my camera on the front of the bike like that, front facing, for this kind of video.
Yeah.
What was I using it for?
Lines mostly.
Lines, because that was the main feedback that I was getting at the time. It's like, okay, you have to hit those axes.
Yeah.
And this was the best way for me to see exactly how bad I was missing the axis, right? Because you can see it like right on your face right there, right? So it was good for that. Right? Also, I mean, looking at the, and then something else that I've learned about this kind of footage was to see, okay, I can use it to know where the axes are, but after that, like, I know there is an X usually right here that we cannot see it from here.
Yeah.
So instead, okay, I know the X is going to be there, so instead of focusing on the X, let me look up and see what else can I see that will take me to that X. And actually on my first track day at COTA, the instructor that I worked with, he said, well, when you're doing this, the X is there. Focus right here. You are not going to like run across.
No.
You look here, but you're going to go around, and as you go around, you're going to be right at the X. I'm like, huh. Right, so you start practicing that, right? You see that, you see this thing here. Just look farther away, right? That's again the other cool thing. When first time I went to COTA, and I mentioned here a couple of months ago, I looked at other people's videos to see where the axes were. I put it on a map, so I got used to them. I knew where they were gonna be. And then next is, okay, now that I know the X is here, okay, let me look up, because if I know the next one is here, what can I see here that I can use as a reference, right? And I still keep doing that. Every time I come out and back, I'm always like renewing my reference markers. And I always ask instructors to say, okay, can we like do one lap around the track on video, and could you walk us through where you're looking at every point in time? Because different instructors will say different things. Some will say, well, it's a candy stripe here. Some will say, well, it's this thing here. Some will say, well, it's this thing. It's like right in the middle of this thing. Whatever, just tell me, because maybe I want to start using that. It may be a better reference than what I've currently been using. Right? So references is everything. So vision, right? Working on your visual skills, most important thing that I've learned, I think, out of all things. Because it's like in life, there's this thing that says, as long as you're facing in the right direction, just keep walking. I think with bikes it's the same thing, right? As long as you're facing or you know where you're going, you can be on the throttle.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot go back on the throttle until you actually know where you're going. Right? So that's definitely number one skill there. So that mount was fine for line study. So I use that quite a bit. After that,
The other benefit of that, Claudio, is that other people that were with you at the track can use this and maybe find themselves and look at their body position, their line, so you're helping the community
absolutely,
at the same time.
you hit it right on the nail, right? Because I mean, here I've been over and over telling folks, always work with instructors, and I personally favor like working with instructors who I know are using cameras, so I can get some footage of mine, so I can see what it looks like and do work with it. Right now, if we get more and more of us doing this kind of setup and posting it, letting other people know, hey, it's there. If you're riding the same level as me, check it out. most likely we're gonna go by at some point. And sometimes like I'm on the track and I just cannot pass another guy to save my life, but I'm being behind the guy. Maybe that guy wanna watch that video to see how he is doing. He didn't even know that I was going back, behind him and couldn't go past him, whatever. But the whole community way of driving this, I think that's a huge thing, right? Like Matt, a couple of MSRA track days ago, I mean, you were behind me for like 15 minutes or something like that. That was awesome.
Yeah, do you know that with the Cube GoPros?
The session.
The sessions, you think you're fairly close to the rider, which you may be, but in the videos, it seems like you're
because of the
further
wide
apart.
angle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, like some of that footage with you and everything, I mean,
I
I was like, I wasn't that far behind him. But just
It's
in the wide angle.
By the way, you can change that in the settings.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a wide angle, and then there's one called linear,
Huh.
and then there's a super wide. So there's three.
So with the
You just leave it on wide.
I leave it on linear.
Yeah.
I want it to be as close to reality, because then you get that fisheye, it looks like a bubble.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I get that.
But you have to experiment.
I need to play with mine. Yeah, I just put it on and just keep playing. Let's go.
Which is fine, it's fine too.
That's how we start.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then start fine tuning.
Yeah.
Eventually it's like I said, I just put the thing in here and go.
Right.
And then as I want to get more out of it, it's like, okay, I need to do something.
You need to start refining your.
Yeah, you start
Yeah.
making changes.
Making adjustments.
Right? Like for instance, this again, when I was working on lines, that was great. And then, of course, once I started hitting those axes, the next feedback from instructors,
Move your ass.
move your freaking ass. You're a Brazilian. Shake that ass, man. Right? So I started mounting it back there. At least I could see, the upper body. And that showed me the painful reality.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that is painful to watch, right? First time at COTA, look at how much I'm not moving off the seat.
What?
Now, pay
which track
attention.
day was this for you?
That was number 5, I think.
There you go. You move a little bit there.
All right,
A
did you
little bit.
see? To the right I move. Now keep watching because we're gonna have 2
Yeah,
lefts.
the next one is the left.
Yeah, so keep watching. So to the right, like I said, it came more comfortable for me.
And
To
then
the left, look at that. Look at that.
like a marble statue.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I mean, check that out.
Look
Right?
at the epics though, right?
Of course, now we have a
Really
triple right-hander.
Oh, that's my
I
favorite.
move
one.
it a little bit.
It's my favorite one there.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Yeah, I love this
There's
one
like a
because
bump
you
on
can
this,
work.
right?
There is
On
a
the carrot?
monkey bump.
Yeah, on 18.
Okay, I remember
Third
hitting
one.
that.
I
Right at
don't remember the
apex
bump.
here.
I remember hitting
Yeah,
tank.
right
I
here.
don't
it's
remember
coming
the
up.
bump.
Yeah, it's on 18.
Yeah, you just passed it.
Just past it. Now look at this. I actually
You went
moved
back
to the
the other
right.
way.
It's like, what the hell?
You move the opposite.
Right? No, but there's more. Wait. Right? I go there. Look. Da-da-da-da.
The little sound.
And you're having to add more lean angle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was the feedback right from instructor. I was like, in my head, I didn't even notice that. It's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm feeling like I'm doing the thing and I'm going, I was not. Like watching the video, I clearly was not doing it. So that was track day number 5, I think. And then the next one, so a month later, I came back to COTA. After watching those videos, like, okay, now I know what I have to work on, right? And now like the same section, it got a little bit better, right? Still not like massive, ass shaking and moving, but I could say, okay, now I'm moving a little bit, right? I'm at least thinking I'm making the motion.
Was that sped up? It looked that you're coming in faster too.
I am
Yeah.
coming in faster.
It looked
yeah, no, that's
and
just
then you're moving
normal.
a lot
I am
on the
coming in
right.
faster, right?
Yeah.
I mean, right-handers still, you can see that I'm more comfortable
Yeah.
on right-handers there, right? Now here,
Oh, look at that.
Ooh.
That's a good cheek
you
movement.
saw
though.
that, right? So more important than just moving it, I didn't do the thing of, okay, I'm on the right, now I'm gonna sit centered, and then I'm gonna go left. You just know the next one is a left, you don't have a straight, just go,
Just move it over.
just move it, right? Just make the bike unstable once. Right? So that was a huge thing for me, that realization. Same thing here, right? So I stick on the left. Now look, I know there's a right coming up. So what do? Right? Move to the other side. That kind of stuff, video, man. Watching on the video was clear. It's like, okay, that's what I need to do. right? And I hope the next two left-handers I did also a little bit better. Yeah,
I
see
didn't hook
that?
up my phone.
This
to
was
it.
not on the same weekend, right?
No, this was a
that
month
was
later.
a month later,
Okay.
but no track days in between.
Okay.
This
Right.
is just
You had been
watching your own
studying.
videos.
Just me watching my videos,
Practicing
right?
at the house,
You
yeah.
stay to the left.
Stay to the left. That was the other thing, right? You're already hanging in there. There's a short section. Just stay there, and then you just move, right? So, I mean, credit, where credit is due. This came from me watching my videos and also from Life at Lean. Because since I'm a member there, I can send video footage, and then Dan, the guy who runs the academy, Dan Netting, he watched and he mentioned this kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, yes, right? So it's you doing your homework and having an extra pair of eyes who actually know what to look for to tell you, look here, this is the kind of stuff that you need to work to fine tune your writing, right?
I even hook up my GoPro to my phone, and after it's the session, I connect and watch it from the phone.
Oh,
to get
nice.
like the immediate feedback.
Instant
afterward.
feedback, yeah, that's cool.
Okay, how am I doing? Am I moving the butt? No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I need to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. The other thing that came from this, pay attention to my left arm. You see that?
Yeah.
Right, so as I come out, I'm sort of like, my arms are a little tense, and I don't relax. That turn 6, it's like a longer one, so I have the time to think, why am I with the arm like this? I should relax. I should be able to go like this with my left arm, with my outside arm. That's when I realized it.
Drop it.
I drop it. Watching those videos, same thing on turns 16 through 18, the same thing. You see me going, okay, I'm doing all the motion and stuff, and then this arm is like this. And then eventually I'm like, oh, right? And then I actually relax. So right works great. On the left, it took me a lot longer. Because in my head, it's like, okay, if I'm like this and I relax my arm here, what happens to the throttle? Am I going to mess up with the throttle control because now I'm all relaxed? So it's like, it's something that I'm still working on. It's like, yes, it's fine to relax and still keeping your hand, working on the throttle, right? You don't want to chop your throttle, you don't want to go like that, right? But from video, I started seeing that. The other thing I started, I tried a couple of times, having it rear facing, right? To see what's happening, with the riders behind you. What have I used that one for? To see, for instance, body position from the other riders who are coming behind me. Because if they are like instructors, I definitely have to pay attention to what they are doing. Like, where are they actually moving off of the bike? If they are tucked in, where are they going up? Because that indicates their braking marker, right? How are they, lowering their, elbow and head and things like that. So I get a reading from that, and I can mimic the next time that I go out. And also, you get to see some interesting things. Like, see here, you see that bike coming up there? Keep an eye on that one, and be entertained.
Oh, he's got it.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, that's Clint.
Okay, yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I mean, I'm right there. I don't know that that's happening. And then I'm back home watching the
Checking.
videos, and then I see that's like, wait, what? What? It just happened, man.
Sometimes what's happening behind you is more interesting than the
It
front.
is.
It should be, yeah. I'm not used to it in the facing
It's-
view.
yeah.
I have not used it.
That's why, like, I'm gonna get to, why I'm now using 2 cameras, because I can actually get to see what's happening there.
Cool.
And you can also learn something from there. I'll get back to that, but, stuff like that,
Ah,
even
that's
seeing
a-
how other riders are making mistakes, right? Like on the S's, you instead of doing a straight shot, you're like swooping around the corners, which is not the more optimal way to do it there.
Yes, yeah.
Right. So that's also a good way to use your footage. And I'll revisit this one shortly. What's coming up here? Oh yeah, chin problem. Right. So next, the other part that I needed to work on as I'm evolving. So now I have my lines much better. I'm moving my upper body better. Next, I send my videos to buddies of mine, and they're like, man, it seems like you're 1 gear taller than you know what you should be on that corner, right? You should drop a gear or whatever, right? But we can't really see your RPMs. So, well, if I set the camera like this, I can actually get to see my panel, right? My tachometer and all of that. So that's how I first set it up. But that, well, of course, was a silly mistake because I kept hitting my chin on the damn thing, right? But at least here, I get the benefit of still seeing the line. It's not as clear as when it's all the way up front, but I can still see my line. But I can also see the RPMs. That became important when I started paying more attention to gearing.
Yeah.
Because the first couple of track days, and Santiago also mentioned that it happened to you, it's like, I've noticed that I was doing like an entire lap in a single gear. I was so busy thinking about the line, the body position, throttle, you know, brake, and this and that. It's like, man, I've been on the same gear throughout the whole track and I didn't even realize, right? Eventually, once I got some of those other things out of the way, I'm like, okay, now I should start paying attention to what gear I'm on, you know? And then the RPMs here actually help me with that as I analyze the thing. Because then I can start seeing some things, which I'm going to get to it in a moment. Problem with that one, again, hitting the thing with my chin. I actually turned off my camera like 2 or 3 times that weekend because of that. Extremely distracting, and I couldn't tuck in because it was like right there on the tank. It's like, what the heck was I thinking? How could I ever make that actually work? So then later, come on. What did I do? Instead of using that one mount here, I started using this one here because I'm like, okay, now I think I have a little more clearance, but just barely. I still couldn't like really tuck in.
Is that a suction thingy?
Yes. Yes, the suction thingy that comes with the Prism camera.
Did you safety wire it?
Yes.
Doesn't look like.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Yeah, I never run without doing
Should I
it.
call Randy again?
Didn't show it, but I have. There's like a little something that comes from here down into the.
The 333?
Yeah, the 333.
Yeah, and I'll when I talk about my crash, I'll show you how the safety wire saved my GoPro. When I got back to my pits,
Yeah.
it was dangling from the safety wire. The mount had broken off.
Yeah, sorry about your crash. I hear about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It happened.
Would you crash it?
I know.
You'll hear all about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Got a whole
coming up.
presentation
Coming
about
up.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this kind of stuff, again, I really like this view because then I started, let's see if I can bring up the volume. I don't know where the remote is for the thing there. But as I got this view, I started also working on my braking. And you'll notice because on the previous videos, previous track days, I would get on a straight like this and you'd hear me go like, because I was coasting all the way to the apex. Then on videos like this, I started actually hearing this thing and thinking, okay, I think now I'm doing a little bit better. Right? See how it drops and it's not like, not optimal by any stretch of imagination, but it allows me to at least see that kind of stuff.
Do you have a gear indicator on your bike?
Say that again?
Do you have a gear indicator on your bike?
I don't.
I cannot. Okay.
I don't. I just know what gear
Yeah, sure.
I'm there. But yeah, I've been thinking about putting an indicator just for the sake of videos like this.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be helpful. Because another thing that I've learned from having this view, for instance, I used to come out of this corner, turn 1,
In third or something?
in second gear.
You don't anymore?
I still come out in second gear, but what happened was, notice the following. I'm coming down in second, still second, I'm holding second,
Oh.
and then eventually you hit a marker, it's like, okay, I'm afraid of upshifting because I'm leaning. That's gonna upset the bike. I'm not gonna upshift. So I would just stay there. It's like, I know I can go faster, but I don't wanna upshift.
Mhm.
So seeing that, I don't have on the video here. I started like, as we come out of it, I give as much gas as I feel comfortable. I short shift. I'm like on 8,000 RPMs. I short shift and then I go into it because then the whole thing flows way more
Yeah.
smooth.
I do that right before turn two.
Yeah. So that again came from me.
So you'll
I mean,
come out going faster.
Yeah,
at
I
the
mean, you
end of
just
this
make the
little
whole
bit.
thing slightly faster, and when you're like past the apex, you can go even harder on the throttle, right? And depending on how hard I come, I may even go fourth right before getting here, and then I drop back to third and go through the rest of the thing. Because as I was doing this, then guess what? I was going second gear all the way through turn 8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, actually turn 9, right? Because I mean, you do the S's, I'm not gonna upshift there, right? That little stint between 6 and 7, I'm not gonna upshift there. So I had to wait all the way. It's like,
9.
man, right? So from analyzing this kind of footage, I was like, okay, now I have to work on this. So I've gone out to a track day with that as my plan. Short shift out of turn 1, out of turn 9, right before 10, where you're going uphill, you go really heavy before turn 10, upshift, and then you dive. Because I was having the same problem. I was not upshifting, so I would be leaning on turn 10. I know I can go faster, but
But you know what? The last sessions I was taking the S's on third all the way, and then right before 6.
Right before 6 or
Wait.
7. 6 is the double hander, the double apex, under the little bridge thing.
Double apex 6.
Oh, actually, I have it here.
So this is all
So this
do
is
this on third,
3,
third all
4,
the
5.
way.
And then 6 is that underneath that.
Yeah,
thing.
this one is 5, 6 is this one.
Okay,
the
no,
double
that's
apex.
still third. That's still third. And
Yeah.
then 7 there.
So
Coming
before
down.
7, you're
No, coming down there. I used to go
Yeah.
down to second,
Okay.
Power up.
all the
or
way to
what?
power up and to be able to pass the guys on 9.
Yeah, I've
Because
tried
yeah.
both ways.
I
Now
know
shifting
it's
there
really-
or
really-
now
really
shifting
easy.
like right
Oh,
here.
R6. It's a really easy pass on 9 on 9 if you're on second. Super easy.
Okay.
I mean, just the drift out, you tuck in and just go.
That's- yeah.
Super easy.
So yeah, experimenting with that just made it a lot easier.
The only thing, Santiago, on this turn right here, just be careful because if you're on second gear, this is negative camber.
Oh yeah, I'm going wide.
As you're going up,
Yeah.
you have an additional lean angle than
Mhm.
usual, and you've got a lot of torque.
Yeah.
So if you upset the bike a little bit
And you
because
twitch it.
you twitch your throttle,
Right.
you can easily spin your rear and lose the
Go.
rear.
Yeah, yeah. I've gone well on that one. Actually, Brian told me, Santiago, it's okay to let go a little bit. So.
Yeah, just take it easy.
I let go too.
Yeah, I mean,
but
let go a little bit here because then I mean, as you come out of that, then you're
And then
full
you
on gas, right? To go
gas
down
and
10
shut
all the
up.
way to
Yeah.
11. Yeah.
Yeah, I do all these on
Absolutely.
third because of that.
Oh, but you have really? Okay. Oh, but you have a
No, on
1,000.
my BMW.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
a 1,000
Yeah.
That's right. You have a better thought in third, of course.
Right. So then here I started actually being able to tuck in a little bit more because then it's like, yeah, dumbass, just change the little arm here to push it, forward a little bit. So now I actually have some more clearance there, and I can still see the tachometer and all that. Right. So I still get to see what I want to see. Yeah. So coming out here. Shift and then go. When I was not doing that right here, I was up
You
on
were
the
holding
revs
the
already.
previous
It's like
gear.
started doing that. It's like
Yeah, you're revving the bike a lot more than that first session.
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna try to catch those hairpins in one. And see how it feels.
First gear, I hate it. Every
No,
time
I don't think
tried
it's
it,
tall enough.
Well,
Like it'll leave you high RPMs, but
I don't
you
know.
won't accelerate.
I was watching Marcus playing the game and
Yeah.
telling about his strategy, and he was to one.
Yeah, but I
But
mean,
remember the gearing on those bikes, and they have seamless transmissions and slipper clutches and
Yeah.
all kinds of electronics.
yeah, they don't feel. I mean, for me, if I'm coming like second gear and I go down first, I feel that
That engine
Those
brake
guys,
is like,
yeah, it's like way too much. It's like,
yeah.
those bikes, they probably don't
I've
feel
gone
that.
down to one accidental in a few corners, especially on ECR, turn one. I've gone by mistake on one, and really, it really goes up the revs, but I don't feel
You didn't
I'm being
feel that-
upset on my bike.
So maybe there's something on your bike with electronics
I
that
don't know,
help with that,
maybe.
but
The slipper clutch thing,
slipper clutch. and
which
things
I
like
have no
that.
idea what it does, but I have it good.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I'll
You don't
try
have
it.
an auto blipper, do you?
No. No.
Yeah, but on mine, I say that every time I try, it's like, no, nope, thanks, but no thanks.
I want to try and see how it feels, and if I don't like it, well, just
Sure. Yeah, experiment.
yeah.
Just experiment. The other thing I started also trying, like that, you know, pointing straight to my face, so I can check my upper body from the front. It's a different kind of view. I said, okay, let me give that a go, see what
okay.
kind of thing I can learn from that. One is, am I actually tucked in on the straights? Because I'm seeing photos like on the straights where I'm like that. It's like, why am I not tucked in? So with the video, it shows me that, and also the whole, where am I getting set to brake? So like here, back straight on COTA, I'm tucked in, go, 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 go. See, there is this transition, right? It's very, I mean, you use the air resistance to help you slow down. You indicate to somebody who's coming behind you,
Visual.
yes, I am braking, right? I'm entering my braking zone, right? So that all helps with, you know, when you get your mind in that mode, you just go like, okay, I'm going like that, I'm sliding off, I'm going like this, I'm applying heavy brakes, downshift, you know, you just get all those pieces together, but man, it takes time, right? For me, it took like watching videos over and over to see, okay, what am I not doing, right? And that was one thing, right? So like stuff like this, and then of course, where I'm actually, you know, lowering my head and where I'm looking.
You could already tell that your butt was off the thing
Yes.
before the turn even commenced,
Yeah.
because your body looked a little bit like
Yeah,
that.
so that was another, it still is a difficulty for me that I'm working through on all corners except for like long straights like that. I move off the seat before I go on the brakes. But on a fast ass straights like that, I notice that I usually like, I come up like this, I go heavy on the brakes, and then I slide off. That's
So you
not
have
the
more
way to
time
do it.
to do all those things in there, right? Yeah.
Well, the problem with doing it like this is that you're going to brake, and then when it's time to turn in, you're going to do everything at once. You're going to slide out, you're going to drop your knee, you're going to drop your upper body, and then go. It's too much to upset the bike. That's why you should you slide off first, then you go on the brakes, because once you're done, all you have to do is,
Instead of your body. You know,
right, you don't upset the bike. But for me, if I'm going like 140 miles an hour, my head is like, no dude, you go like this and then you brake for life. And the times where I actually remembered, dude, it's fine. You are, you know, in control, slide off. It's fine. The bike's not gonna go like this if you're smooth, if you're using your legs. If you're using your arms, then you're gonna be messed up, right? But when I've used my legs, oh, okay, that actually works. But it's something that I have to think about it. Otherwise, my mind is like, no, right? So I've learned that, and also like, where am I looking? Am I really turning my head, right? And this kind of view.
oh, it's a nice talk.
Yeah, because the one from the back I cannot actually see if I'm turning my head like that, but this one I can see. So for instance, coming up, what, turns, yeah, that's 15.
You're about to come to a carousel?
So now the carousel, because remember, the carousel is a triple apex, so I have to be moving my head, you know, apex to apex, right? And in this kind of footage I can actually see, right? I'm looking for the first one, I found, I'm already looking for the next one,
I saw it, yeah, I saw it.
right? And then the same thing, I found that one, okay, where's the next one,
The next one.
right? Always looking ahead, right? So that kind of view is like, okay, that, I can use that. That's good stuff. Then, of course, I went back to doing this. So I just started this at last time at MSRH. The regular one, rear facing, and then a 360 on the front. That's a lot of fun, man.
Started getting my eyes crossed when I was trying to watch that video.
Oh yeah? You were trying to just watch like on your phone or on the computer?
No, on the computer.
Okay, you haven't tried with the VR?
No.
Heads
That'll
up. I
blow
actually
your
brought
mind.
one if you guys want to try it.
You can get it for your phone from Google. It's like $10. It's
Yeah,
a little cardboard.
$5, yeah. I'll show you that.
The VR thing?
Yeah.
Well, no,
Yeah.
just the viewer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
It
yeah.
wraps around your phone and it has like 2 little magnifying glasses. It
Oh,
makes it
okay.
look really far away.
Yeah.
That way you can put the phone up to your face and still see clearly.
Yeah, so I'll show
Oh,
you,
cool.
because that's like the next experience, right?
Did you
So-
bring them?
What's that?
Did you bring the?
Yeah,
Oh,
brought
cool.
one so you guys can try it out.
Yeah.
Right, so this is the view from the front, so I can still get that, okay, the line where I'm going type of thing.
It's like a
Right.
video game.
What's that?
It was like a video game.
Yeah, it does, right?
Yeah.
Oh!
And then I can switch around.
I just thought you crashed.
Right, yeah.
That
But I
camera
can
tilt.
control that in
Yeah.
software to like, if I want to make a point
Mm-hmm.
for something, you know, that's how we do, like when you're getting past and stuff like that, right? It just gives you a little more that you can work with.
How much pay for that camera?
$100, 98
The
something.
360?
It's a 360. It's a second generation, so it's an older one. That's why the video quality is not like, it's not 4K.
That is super cheap.
Because the 4K is like, the cheapest one is like 400, 500, something like that. I'm like, and the real good ones, the badass ones, they cost like $800. They are awesome.
Okay.
No, you buy an AIM Solo before you buy that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You
What?
can learn a lot more from that.
Yeah.
From a what?
Absolutely.
What?
You would buy an AIM Solo, the data log.
The
Remember
data log.
Oh, yes,
last
yes,
session?
yes, yeah. Before you get another,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Before you get a fancy 360 camera.
Yeah. And unless you are doing like some crazy, you know, professional
Yeah, if
production.
they're paying
like,
you.
YouTube
Photography.
video.
Yeah, you're a professional YouTuber who are getting paid for that.
Yeah.
Go for it, yeah.
But other than that, for my usage, learning purposes, this is perfect. I
Yeah.
can twist it around and I can look at whatever,
That's time on set, okay.
right?
Wait
That's
till you
time on
actually
set.
put it on your head because as you move, it moves.
Yeah, yeah, you guys are.
If you've
will
never
try
done it
out.
before, it'll blow you
Okay,
away.
okay.
Yeah, you try it out, that's why we brought it. So I'm doing that and the other way around, right? With the regular one here and the 361 on the back. And let's see what that looks like. It's also fun. Right, so here I can still see my upper body,
Right.
right? I can do all that kind of analysis. And I'll show you here, I can rotate and see what's happening behind. Coming up.
I can tell how you got faster since COTA.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks, man.
And your body is looking so much better.
Thank you. There we go.
That's
Right.
pretty awesome.
That is pretty sweet, right? Because
Yeah.
then, you know, I only started paying more attention to rear-facing camera, watching our videos, because then it dawned on me that's like, dude, if I'm watching that, I can see, because when you're right there, you don't know what kind of lines are forming behind you, at least in my case, right? The turtle one, I don't know, there's a line behind me or whatever. Watching here, I can actually see, like, where am I losing speed comparing to other riders? Like, okay, on this section, that guy's getting so, you know, close, so fast to me, like Matt on the bus stop, right? It's like, okay, that, I mean, if he's on a 600, we're about the same level, like lap times, how is he getting so fast to me on that section? Well, that's a section I have to work on. Or in other corners, you can see where you're pulling away and somebody is like being left behind. And then in other parts, the guy gets really close to you real quick. It gives you food for thought. It's like, okay, I need to work on that because I know that I can go faster on that section. The guy's showing me that on the video, right? So I started using this for that kind of analysis as well, which I had no idea was, you know,
Well, it's
going
like
on.
having 2 cameras in one.
Yep.
Pretty
Yeah.
much, even 3 if you want to find, check
So
out
you know the
side.
one thing that I'm missing on my setup that I wanna get it going is something that can show my right hand. I wanna see my braking action. I wanna know exactly when I'm going to the brake.
Well, use the one you have in the tank and just point it at your
I
hand.
tried it, it didn't, it picked my hand like that.
Picture that, but it's
So I know
not-
that I'm going for the brake, but I don't know if I'm like trail braking or if I'm just, you know, covering my brake.
You know,
That I tried that.
in Kids
didn't work.
Code video, when they show that section on the throttle in Kids
Code.
Code, the second
Yeah, yeah,
one,
yeah.
I think that they mounted something from the handle out,
From the handle out.
so the camera is pointing directly at the hand from the right, right?
Probably what I need
So-
to do is to put on the fairing, like on the right on the fairing, facing.
Where your
Yeah,
mirror
but the
mount
angle,
is.
bar?
Yeah.
the angle on
The
the
area
is
where
not
your
the best.
mirror's not.
Yes,
I did
yeah,
that.
right there.
So
Then it's gonna get my hand like right there.
I did that with my GoPro Hero 5.
You have it, yeah.
Where is it? Where you put it?
Right where the right mirror mounts to, on the front fairing, just to the right of the windscreen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I just turned it around, I didn't, just wanted to see what it would catch, and it actually caught my head movement, my hands, everything.
Cool.
I mean, it was only like, 11, 12 inches from
Yeah,
my,
so that's something I wanna do
Right,
because
so
then you can
cut it
clearly
off.
see, because you should be
course, that
either
was the
on the
wide
gas
angle,
or on the
wide angle
brakes,
on
Yeah.
the GoPro.
right?
Yeah.
And with a
Hero
camera
5.
like that, I would be able to see that and see if I am in fact like trail braking into corners, and if not, what I could do. So stuff like that, right? And then, so that's all cool, and we're gonna go through all the other stuff that we have here coming up soon, and then towards the end, I'm gonna have you guys try out the VR thing. So again, working with instructors who you know are running cameras, because, and I've shown this to you guys before, right? When they started saying, oh yeah, you need to work on your body, moving your body, and then I saw the footage from my camera, I'm like, man, look how close I'm getting to the candy stripes there. Man, I'm leaning, dude. Look at that. That's pretty badass, right? That's what I thought from watching my own footage. And then I get Randy's footage, and that's what reality looks like. Right? From my point of view, it looked like I was way down. From here, I can actually see, okay, body position started shaping up better. This looks a lot better than from previous times back then. But the lean angle is like, man, I have so much more clearance, which in my head is like, no, I'm right there. I'm right there, because since I had drag pegs before, I had this mental block. It's like, okay, there's only so far I can go. So I was like always holding up. And then when I saw this, it's like, oh man, there is still so much more, right? And yeah, that is like, oh, brother. Like, dude. And then this is from my very first free session at COTA. Look at that. Look at the speed, or lack of. And I'm pretty much like this. I'm like not leaning at all, or like, what, 5 degrees?
That's how I feel every time I watch an instructor video.
Right?
I'm like so disappointed.
Yeah, right? And then of course, this is from last time. This is Jason's footage, last time that we were at COTA in July. I mean, that's quite a
Check
bit
it out.
better.
That's a
Look at that
You were almost
speed.
dragging your knee there.
Yeah.
Right?
I thought you did drag it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, occasionally I do here.
That looks
Right?
10 times better.
So much
Yeah.
more speed.
So much more speed, just
And fluid too.
fluid, there's no like steering corrections, because on the beginning, there are 3 apex, you would see like go steer, come back, steer again, come back, steer again, go back. Here, you see it's just one swipe. Once you've turned in, it's a whole thing. If you need to make a correction, it's only on the throttle. You're not gonna go like this or like this, it's only on the throttle, right? And from videos, I've learned that. Just from my riding there, it's like, you don't see that, but from videos it shows. It's like,
Can we watch that again?
sure, all right.
That's my favorite turn there.
Yeah,
Carousel?
that is, turning
My
into the
favorite turn for
carousel,
sure.
it's fun, because it's so long, it gives you time to actually process
Mhm.
position and speed and all that. So that's Lomi.
So the video that we're about to watch you flying through is, what is this, 2B? Or 2A?
That was 2A.
This is 2A.
Yeah, that was 2A.
That's the bump right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Push that bump.
So that, I've been experimenting with it, because if you miss it by 3 or 4 feet, it doesn't matter, because it's so wide,
Yeah.
right? It's fine. If you I've experimented the last time, like getting really close to the apex, like clipping it right there.
You'll bounce off the tank.
I think maybe it depends on how you hit it. If you're like 1 or 2 feet out,
Mhm.
then man, it's scary,
Yeah.
right? Then it's
Like,
scary.
your body will come off the seat.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Dude.
So yeah, that's fun, and then
Never
to
haven't
just
hit it?
No. I
You've
haven't.
been lucky.
We'll hit
Yeah.
it. We'll hit it. We'll hit it.
You-
Well, next time.
That means that you're on the right line.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So.
You're
don't worry
either
about
on the right line or you're not going fast enough.
No, honestly, I
Because
haven't.
when you're not going fast enough, you don't feel the bumps, right? You mentioned that at ECR you didn't used to feel those bumps.
Until I became faster.
Until
and
it
then I
became
was
faster,
going
it's
faster.
like, whoa. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's even like at MSRH, I mean, many months ago, I felt like MSRH was not that bumpy, and I kept hearing like level 3 guys saying, oh man, it's bumpy, it's bumpy. Nowadays, I'm like, holy crap, it is getting really bumpy.
Yeah.
Right? It's either getting bumpy or I'm getting faster, so now I get to feel it more.
Diamond's Edge to me is the worst turn because it's so bumpy.
It is.
You go a little bit wide at
Yeah.
Diamond's Edge,
You just,
man.
you just pray.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, before getting to Diamond's Edge, when you go on the back straight, there's that little kink on the right.
Mhm.
I mean, you lean
That
and you
one
go
too.
into it.
That
There's a
one too.
bump like right before it. That one scares me, right? Because you're going like, I don't know, 120 there, and then you know,
You're downshifting,
downshifting, going,
braking, yeah, it's about.
not fun. And then finally, you know, the whole having somebody who has a rear-facing camera, so you get to see you.
Check you out. Yeah.
Right, and then no, if our buddy has a 4K camera, which here is not the 4K resolution, right? Because I just get the smaller resolution to run here. You get to see some amazing footage. So you can get to see you from the front, which is a nice view, and then you get to see your body just kicking ass and you know smoking you,
Bye.
right? Like, well, bye, bye, bye. But no, I'm brave. I'm gonna accelerate my 600 to the top of its ability, and I'm gonna catch up, right? Showing a good, proper line through the S's, and then I'm catching up on my 600, or so I thought. I'm almost there, man. I'm almost there. I'm catching up. Only that, yeah, he was just being slowed down by somebody else. That's why I was catching up. Otherwise, there was just no way for me to catch
Okay,
up.
so you're super fast, man.
That's the day I did my 239.
That was, yeah, that was the day. So
Because
yeah,
I was studying
239.
the
I
data.
mean, I'm still on my 252, I think was my best so far. Yeah.
It took me a whole year
To get that speed? Wow.
to get to 239, yeah.
Yeah, man.
7 COTA days.
Yeah,
Ooh.
right. Takes time. Yeah,
Yeah.
just takes time.
You can't
Uh,
rush these things.
What's that?
You can't rush
No, no, you
speed.
just can't.
No.
You
Nobody's
just
born
can't.
fast.
Nuh-uh. Yeah, you cannot, you have to become fast, right? You should not go fast, you should become fast. It's just, it happens. So yeah, I watch all that footage on the big 50-inch TV. You know, I analyze everything I can. I take snapshots and store that away and make notes on it. When people ask, you know, so how do you go through all that footage and you know what to look for? Well, when I come out of the track, I write down my notes, right? I write down like the tire temperature, what session, my steering damper. That was the first time I was riding with my steering damper. I put, okay, I was set on 6, and then I wrote, it felt all right. It's like it didn't feel really great. It felt all right, so it tells me I need to do something next time. I've worked on moving my butt off the seat more. There were a few puddles on the track, blah, blah, blah. Back short before the kink, turning a little later seems to be less bumpy, right? So I take notes of those things. When I go back to watch the video, I already know what I'm going to be looking for. Oh, let me look at that point where I try to avoid the bumps. Let me see if the bike shook too much. Let's see what kind of speed I was doing. I don't know. There are things for me to look for. I know what to look for. If I got passed, like I got passed really, you know, nicely by Jason at MSRAs, like around Sugar and Spicy, I had that here so that later when I'm reviewing the video, I know exactly where I have to go look. Oh, it was on session 4, and I will
Fourth
remember,
lap.
oh, it was like towards the mid of the session, right? Stuff like that. So that's how I can go through the video footage real quick and get what I need out of it. Of course, I've already said I put my iPad on my bike to practice, you know, my legs and strengthen those muscles. With the 360, if you look up my videos on your phone, you can use your phone either with your fingers to move the point of view, or you can go like this, right? It's gonna follow with the thing. And then of course, you can also use a cardboard Google thing for $5.
That's the $5 thing, okay.
$5 to get that. Or at Walmart for $5 to get this, which is slightly better.
In Walmart for $5.
At Walmart,
Wow.
right? It's just something that you're gonna put your phone on that,
Yeah.
and it
you
will.
put it on
And it won't fall off and break like on that one.
Right. Well, no,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
that one is a crappy one. They have the, the things there. But anyways,
Can't believe
you
they
get
did
that,
a
and then you
$5
do the whole go into the garage and take it to the next level, right? Because what you're gonna do is, when you go on YouTube on your smartphone, it's gonna, if it's a 360 video, this icon. Tap on that icon. It's gonna do split screen thing, and
Check it out.
right, it's gonna show like that. You put on the VR headset, and then you go to town, right?
Cool. That's okay.
Like a little
Dang.
kid on Christmas.
Right?
I can see a good use for the VR thing now to
Right?
practice those things. That's
So-
okay. All right. All right.
Yeah, I tried that. It doesn't work.
It
That's
doesn't?
great. No. The idea is good, but because of, you have to be at a certain angle with the thing to actually make sense. Now, if you're leaning over,
It's
right?
gonna look at the ground.
He's looking at the.
So
yes.
you have to look like this. That's why I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that does not work.
I
I tried,
I get you.
right? I tried, but I mean, of course, you can always go there, sit on a bike, and just practice. Okay, here I'm going left, here I'm going right. Just this minimal thing, getting your mind tricked into, okay, this is where I'm entering the braking zone, so I should move, right? You don't have to be like that crazy, whole butt off the seat, but just getting your mind, okay, slide off the seat, come back, use your legs, slide off the seat, stay on the right because there's another right-hander coming up. Stay there. Okay, now we'll come back center. Just do that. Because when you're at the track, guess what? Your mind is already conditioned
Precondition
to do that. You don't have to think about it. So that helps, but again, from the point of view of the thing, I started just sitting on my chair, that way I'm not gonna fall down, put that thing on, I'm watching the video. If somebody comes by me, I just go back on the video, I look behind and I start seeing the guy coming by. Oh, that's where he is actually, faster than me. Okay, now he's going by. All right, now I'm following him. It's a nice way to use that that footage. And so upload it somewhere. Make sure that you put it on YouTube or whatever. Let other people know about it, because, well, if we were riding the same track day, same level, oh, maybe you went by me or I went by you or whatever, right? We can use that footage and not rely solely on instructors that have videos, because usually we don't get a lot of video from instructors, right? It's like 1 lap, 2 laps at the most. And usually it's the one lap, the one lap that you screwed up, right? Because you just know there's somebody filming you behind, and you are thinking too hard about not screwing up, you end up doing, and then it doesn't help. Check out, videos from other riders. You may find yourself there. Ask for critique, right? So, I have a very specific, select list of people that I send my videos to, and they give me like some real thorough feedback. Dude, you're doing this, you're doing that. Try this, try that. And I take notes. That's one of the reasons why I created the closed group on Facebook, so that we all know each other. Post the videos there and ask for critique. We are here. We want to just have everybody else learning and being better and whatever. So that kind of stuff. But now let's talk about crashes. All the video stuff is fun, but there are also crashes.
I'm just gonna grab a soda real quick.
Oh, absolutely. So crashes. When I first started with track days, right, I've read somewhere something that said, crashing, it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's just when. It's just part of the thing, unfortunately. Now, I've done 24 track days without ever crashing, without ever running off the track, right? And other than the one crash when I did go out of the track, I never go out of the track, because I'm always very conservative. That's just how I ride. I do not push my boundaries. Or when I do, it's just a little bit. Just a little bit faster into that corner. You know, letting go of the brakes a little bit sooner or earlier or whatever, just a little bit. So I never put myself into situations where I'm like, oh, I don't feel good doing stuff like that. It's just not me. When Dave asks, you know, who's a risk-taking, you know, personality, no, I don't take risks like that, right? So it happened to me. Took a while, but it did, and I was warned about the part of the track that was sort of dangerous. So at ECR, turn 10, I had an instructor telling me like 1 or 2 weeks before I went there, look, it's very bumpy if you stay on the proper line, so just go around the bump. It's gonna be counterproductive, counterintuitive, you just go around it. And when you look at the videos, that's what I did, right? So I'm going, it's right on this corner, and I'm actually following Santiago there, right? So I'm trusting his lead, right? But here, this thing is nasty.
Yeah, that's
I
bumpy.
crashed on 2 turns before that at Sport Rider Coach Training.
Okay, on that left,
Yeah,
before
left
going
uphill.
You crashed on 7.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Going uphill on that
Yeah,
blind.
that's a fun turn.
I love that turn too. I think.
Yeah.
I think I pushed the bike down and then I just slid right off into the grass.
Yeah.
Okay,
Maybe too much lean angle, yeah.
right. Yeah, so here, you know, I tried, so that's where I hit the thing, and it's all good. It's a double apex. You just keep looking for the next apex. I did just fine. You know, next time around, look how I moved. Because since I knew it was bumpy, I said, okay, let me try attacking it from different angles every time to see what it feels better, right? So I was doing it, all right, now this is my point of view here, right? So this is the line I'm taking. You can see the
Yeah.
bike shaking, right? And we're doing what, 45 miles
Yeah,
when
this
we
track
hit?
was bumpy.
Yeah.
It's bumpy.
My comment,
Super good.
first session
The
when we
first
come out,
session, super bumpy.
Super.
I said it's the bumpiest track I've ever ridden.
They were like, it's alright.
That's why they would do CMRA there.
Yeah, it's just, you can't. Yeah, that same weekend there was one guy who was going really fast and he crashed on turn, I don't remember now if it was 5, the one going right
Going
and then
up?
up. Because he was like full
Yes, he
lean
was on
angle,
an
going
R3.
really fast, hit
He
a
was on
bump.
a road 3 and he was, yeah.
Yeah, he crashed because of the bump. Like, that's not fun. Right, so, I mean, a couple of, you know, laps around the track, I was doing just fine. Here from another session, I think that was the second or third session there, right, still doing fine, but you see the bike shaking like crazy. And I think this was the one that I went out. Nope, still doing fine.
That's Sean, I think, in front of you.
Yeah, I think now it's gonna be the one, like you see it's the same approach, pretty much the same speed.
Ooh,
I hit the
yeah,
bump,
yeah.
did you see it?
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Yeah, so at that point,
Yeah.
it hit it really hard, and here it's kind of hard for you guys to see, but I was going like 2 miles faster than before, because I was usually approaching it at like 50 miles or 48 miles an hour. At that point I was at 50. It's like no big deal. But at that point you see my bike shaking. So of course that happens, I get startled, I stand up the bike. At that point what I should have done is just look for the next apex. Just do the thing that you were doing all this time, because then you're going to steer the bike back into the line. That's not what I did. Guess what I did? Target fixate where you don't want to go. That's what I did. I stood up the bike and I'm looking at the edge of the track. It's like, instead of going like this, I just stayed like that. It's like, okay, now I have no time to come back, go into the grass. It rained the night before, so it was very slippery. There we go. You know,
You're
hit
lucky
the
you
deck.
got to land in nice soft grass.
It was. Yeah, because by the time I hit the grass, we can't see it here because of the luminosity, but I was doing like 25 miles an hour or something, because I went on the brakes. I went heavy on the brakes as much as I could, and then I got into the grass. And at that point, and I don't remember, not because I've hit my head or anything like that, but I don't recall if I had my hand on the brake. Because if I did, then that was stupid, because that's the one thing you shouldn't do when you hit the grass, right? But I don't remember. But the way that the front tucked in, it's very possible because I was on the brakes right before going out.
Well, there could have been a rut, you know, mud. I mean,
It was
there's
very
no
nasty
telling.
there. Just walking, when I stood up and started walking around, it was not like grass like this. It was like,
super
It
wet.
was bumpy out there.
it was wet and very bumpy, right? But I mean, you look from like the instructor's angle, you know, that's what I was doing. You know, I was looking through the turns just fine, you know, looking for each apex just the way you're supposed to do, right? But except for that one, right? Very silly mistake, extremely silly mistake. And I could have ridden the rest of the day if I didn't break my gear shift lever, right? But
Spare parts, you gotta have a box.
spare parts, never even, right?
All the stuff
thought
that breaks in a crash, the pegs, the bars, the, your levers.
Right, yeah.
I don't have any. So
Yeah, I used to buy
I need to.
those.
Yeah.
And you can get them on eBay. Like I bought a whole all the replacement parts for my R3 for less than $100.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, when I got the lever, I got it on Amazon for, I don't even remember, it's like really for
Yeah.
maybe $10 or something retarded like that. I'm like, because of this, I couldn't ride the rest of the day because I was just fine.
Imagine at COTA on your first session, first turn,
That's-
like I did.
Like,
Oh my goodness.
And I had paid, you know, obviously
The fee.
the fee
The
and then the
400.
hotel the night before.
Yeah.
$75 garage.
And I lost my
Garage.
peg and I didn't have a replacement peg and nobody had a peg for a Ducati.
oh, man.
So, wasted day for a $20 part.
Yeah,
Nothing, right?
let's start buying those parts.
Keep a box of
Yeah.
spares.
One of those things.
Yeah, so I mean, for me at least, the good thing is that as I came out of the bike, I knew exactly what had happened. Right? It's like I knew I was in control all the time, and I knew what actually happened. Then watching the video and thinking about it, it's like, okay, I know how I could have easily fixed. It's just like, oh yeah, you got startled. Yeah, just keep doing your thing. Keep looking where you need to go. That would have prevented me from going off the track. But hindsight is always 20/20.
Absolutely.
You just learn from it. Jason,
Yeah.
share your recent
Oh my
experiences.
Claudio, so here's a camera mount you haven't thought of. I put this on my
Under the
BMW
seat.
because I wanted to see my rear shock working. And I also put one on the forks, but I didn't upload it to YouTube because I had doubts. Something didn't feel right. And I was talking to the suspension guy, and he's like, "Well, how does it feel?" And I said, "I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. I can't tell you. You know, well, is it slow on the corners? Does it hop when you brake?" And I said, "I don't know." So I just put a camera on it, and you can see, it's mounted to the seat. Look at how it bounces up and down. Oh, volume doesn't work.
Huh.
Is there a,
It should be coming out.
I can actually use that angle to check my footwork actually.
oh, here's why.
Yeah, for footwork, I've been thinking about that too.
So look at the spring compressing. So on a straight, you'll see it really compress, and when I'm braking,
Yeah.
it expands. So we wanted to see how much is it doing more work than it should.
Okay.
Can you tell from this angle? I mean,
Yeah,
usually
well-
you're seeing how it's working, but it looks that this doing what it's supposed to do. But I'm not.
Well, to you and I, it looks that way,
Yeah.
but when I showed it to Roger, he's like, "Oh yeah, we gotta add a little bit more preload."
Oh, but he's like he leaves the tea
He's a
leaves.
wizard.
Yeah, because that's all
Roger
he does.
leaves he reads the tea leaves. He reads
To
the
me, this is
asphalt.
just
I don't
a-
know what he does, but
it's just
he's. I
bouncing.
mean,
Yeah.
But to a
Yeah.
trained suspension analyst, they get a ton of information.
oh,
So
cool.
see how it's really compressed now?
Because
And
you're
watch how
straight.
it's
Yeah,
gonna
that's
expand
straight.
here at the brakes.
Nice.
So anyway, just
Very
ideas.
cool.
I mean, you can put a camera
I like it.
just about anywhere.
Yeah.
Claudio and I share that thing. We're geeks about technology.
Right?
Okay, so we're going to talk today about my crash a couple of weeks ago at MSRH. Was having a great day. It was the second to last session of the day. I had just done a personal best on my R3, and I was following a couple of leader bikes faster than me. And contrary to what you may have heard, a little bike like an R3 doesn't have more corner speed than a leader bike. It's just about skill. It may seem that way to some, but an experienced rider on a leader bike will always go faster than an experienced rider on 300cc or 250cc. Why? Because they have a ton more contact patch.
Mm.
I'm going to show you some pictures. So they have more grip on their tires. They can take turns faster. So here in this particular case, you'll see I'm chasing them, and I went in a little bit hotter than usual. My line was off a little bit, and then we'll look at the video, and then we'll talk about the analysis and my theories and lessons learned.
Flew.
That's just a slow-mo. You hear that peg dragging?
Yeah,
Remember that,
it's
we're
like
gonna
you
talk
hit it
about
once, and then you came up a little bit, and then you hit it again.
I didn't hear that.
That's one of my theories. Listen on this coming video.
Okay.
Listen for the peg.
Hmm.
It's more noticeable here in slow motion. So the question is, did I drag my peg and that's what caused me to lose the front? Or was I already coming in too hot, lost the front, and then the peg hit? It's inconclusive. I've looked at it, I've had my friends look at it, and we'll look at some of the telemetry that I got from the data logger and some pictures.
I mean, it doesn't look like you were doing anything wrong. I mean, you were trail braking into the corner, you were leaning. You have good grip, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so here's the damage, new tail fairing, you know, all this got messed up over here.
Yeah.
But this is what I wanted to show you. Look at the GoPro. So it's snapped off entirely, but it made it. By the time I got to the pits, 20 minutes later, it was still recording. So tether your GoPros.
And
It
if
works.
you break it, remember they replace you for it. They give you a new one.
What's that?
If you break the actual, if you break the actual camera,
The housing.
they'll give you a new
No,
one.
no. This
That's
part
the one
broke
they
here,
guarantee.
but this was all intact.
Yeah.
This just snapped off.
Yeah.
Hmm.
My brake lever guard broke, and I think that saved my right hand to some degree. It didn't save my left hand because in that rear-facing video you saw me flipping around on the ground. I think in one of those turns I hit the ground, the pavement, and it hyperextended the tip of my finger, which broke the tendon. So tomorrow morning I'm getting a pin put in. I'm having surgery, so I'm probably done for the season.
Oh, so you're coming Saturday? On the
No,
weekend?
no,
Oh,
definitely not.
Sorry.
Because it's 8 weeks with this thing on. Otherwise, you get what's called a mallet finger deformity, and you're permanently your fingers like this.
Oh, okay. I've seen people with that, yeah.
Yeah, because you have the tendons holding it upright
Mm.
on this side, and then the tendons holding it this way. So, yeah, I mean, look, it happens. Fortunately, with this sport, we sometimes have to learn lessons the hard way, and it's painful and expensive. You know, it's going to be thousands of dollars because I hadn't met my deductible, so now I got to shell out about what I paid for this bike. You know, for one dumb little finger.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that happened, which hadn't happened in my previous crashes and really scared me, is I rocked my head. So if we go back to the video here. So by now I was already up, but at the initial impact, you know, my helmet hit the ground,
Okay.
and that's the worst sound in the world when your helmet is scraping on the track.
Yes, yeah.
Let me tell you,
Should be
it is
super
an
scary.
awful sound. And so that rocked me, and then I spun probably 4 times. Yeah, and you see my hand here trying to reach out.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So looking at some of the forums and talking to people, they basically say, you're crashing wrong. You're doing it wrong.
You don't know how to crash,
Yeah.
well.
Well, and so,
Was this your first
well, what do you
time
mean? I
then?
said, well, when you crash, no, I've crashed before, but
Okay.
this was the first time I've really gotten injured. you have to make a fist and try to keep your arms, you know, and your legs close to you, or this will happen, right? If I had made a fist, then you have armor on your knuckles, on your gauntlet gloves.
Yeah.
You don't have armor on the tips of your fingers because you need them for grip. So when you crash, it's hard because you're surprised, but you see the MotoGP guys crash, you know,
All the time.
20 times in a season, and they're still back at it because they know how to crash.
They even
Slide.
start
Pull out with another bike.
Yeah.
They even sell from the bikes.
So I have to learn how to crash.
Or you surf on a bike.
Yeah.
Right?
The guy last time,
Yeah.
he fell surfing, I'm like, it's cheap.
So I did a lot of things wrong here, and I could have prevented the surgery if I had just made a fist,
Yeah, because we have
kept
a
my
lot of
arms a
protection
little
here.
bit more inside. Now the head thing, that's scary because a couple of days after, even after the accident, I was fine. I was up, loaded my bike. I was talking with you guys. You know, just my finger that was bothering me, but my brain, you know, everything was fine. 3 days later, I started getting chills, like at night. I thought, man, am I getting sick? I felt like I had the flu. And then I had a pounding headache all that night. And then the next day, it was just coming and going, headaches. And I called the doctor. He's like, you probably had a concussion and you didn't realize it. So for about a week, just until a couple days ago, I've been having headaches on and off. And he even sent me to get an MRI, a brain scan, because he said, it's happened to where people will get a head injury, you have internal bleeding of your brain, and they die a week later because they didn't know. They're fine, they're walking around, but when you hit your head, out of an abundance of precaution, you have to go get checked out.
Gotcha.
Because it could be really, really bad. Once you start bleeding in your brain, it causes a lot of pressure in your skull, so they have to drain it. I mean, it's scary, but you can catch it in time.
Wow.
How did your helmet look? Was it just scuffed up?
It was just scuffed up, but
Okay.
it's in the trash. It's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. Once you hit it, it's
You
one
can't
time.
reuse a helmet
No.
once it's been crashed.
It's one time.
So if you've gone down and hit that helmet, throw it in the trash. It's not worth
Change it.
the savings because it has styrofoam and other stuff in there, and it cracks, and so.
I mean, they are
Most
designed
people
for
not
one
gonna-
crash. That's
What's
it.
that?
They are designed for one crash.
Yeah, and they
Pretty much.
expire. I didn't know that.
They do, yeah.
After 5 years, they expire. They have an
Yeah.
expiration date, like milk.
Yeah.
You know, and I had no clue until I went to CMRA to do my class, and they were inspecting my bike and my helmet, and I've had my helmet inspected 100 times at RightSmart.
Right.
And the guy looks at the clasp, and it has like a, you know, manufacturer date. He's like, this helmet's 8 years old. And I'm like, really? That can't be. You know, I bought it 3 years ago. I was like, where'd you buy it? I said, online. He's like, well, there you go. It's probably been sitting in a shelf somewhere in a warehouse for years, and that's why you got it at a discount. So next time another lesson learned, next time you buy a helmet, check the manufacturer date and make sure that it's at least from that year. If not, you better get a 50% discount on that thing because
Yeah.
it's about to expire. Okay, so let's I want to show you a couple of things here that I noticed. So there's the bike. Here's the offending peg. So it's shaved off about 2 little of these knuckles, you know, whatever we want to call them. And I still don't know, right? I've talked to people, they said you were coming in too hot, too much lean angle, didn't have enough body position, you weren't leaned over enough. I really feel like I was under control and I had taken that turn at that same speed before.
It looks like that.
But then I'm going to show you another picture. Look at this. Right here. Look at my toe. This was about 3 laps before my crash. Blair had already moved or he would have gotten it.
Oh.
And I had felt it scrape. This is the part that makes me angry because I should have listened. Right? The track was trying to tell me something. The bike was trying to tell me something, and I didn't listen. I was scraping my toe. That's a bad sign. And then the other thing I want to show you is look at the contact patch. I mean, that's maybe, I don't know, a couple of inches. This is where I was comparing with the big bikes. They have a lot more tire. So I am at the edge of traction here. You probably heard that term. You have 100 points of traction. I was like at 3. And then whether it was my toe itself, which I've heard has happened to some racers, by just dragging your toe, which is not a hard part, it's not connected to the frame, you're at the bleeding edge of traction. Just dragging your toe will spin that rear or spin the front, depending on where the weight is on the bike.
Right.
You could lift the wheel a little bit and then you lose the traction, yeah.
So my mistake was because, and if you look at the other picture, I have one more position that I can go. This, I know it's hard to see from this angle, but this is like at the 10 o'clock position. It still has one more position where I can raise that peg. And then it's at the highest. And I should have cut off maybe half an inch from these pegs. A lot of the racers will cut off their pegs so they're just this big. They don't need more
Oh,
than
really? I
that.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are the theories, right? If you look at my body position, I am leaned over, but not enough. My head could be lower, my back could be a little bit lower, my shoulder could be lower. If I had done that, then I
Push the
wouldn't have
bike
needed
out.
as much lean and would have made that turn when I crashed without scraping anything. So, you know, whenever you have a situation like this where it's not clear cut, you can come up with theories and hypotheses, but there's lessons learned regardless. So
Absolutely.
now let me show you another cool thing. So this is like the track analytics part 2. So here
Fuel
is,
quality.
I've got 2 laps loaded. The blue was my personal best that day of 156. The red is when I crashed. There's actually another lap after where it shows me going at 10 miles an hour all the way back to the pits. So it records everything.
Of course.
Right.
So to me, it's inconclusive. You know, I've replayed the video over and over again, and at times I can hear
The peg.
I can see it lose the traction and then hear the scrape, and other times it's like at the exact same time. But then I thought, okay, what if I'm not picking up the sound when it's first starting to scrape? It's only picking it up after it's gnawed halfway through the peg. That's a possibility. So
Yeah.
even with all this technology and fancy equipment, but bottom line is, you know, I'm gonna raise those pegs no matter what,
Right.
because I've got room to raise them one more notch,
Lessons learned, yeah.
right? And I'm gonna work on my body position, even though I consider myself to have a good body position.
Oh yeah.
This is still not enough. For this little bike, and as much as I was asking of it and being on the edge of traction, my elbow's gotta be near the ground
Right.
to take a turn at that speed. And then I don't have to lean it as much, because that is the edge of traction. It's
That's it.
millimeters from going down, which is what happened. And as I said at the beginning, in this sport, you know, you can read books, you can watch videos, you know, we come here and we talk.
Yeah.
Some of these lessons, until you hit hard, you just don't learn them.
Yep.
You know, people say, yeah, I get rear sets are good, so you get them because people tell you, but now you know why.
Right.
Because even with these vortexes, which are designed as racing rear sets, I still scrape them.
Those are the ones that give you the option to raise the pegs a little bit
Yeah.
more, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So there's 2 measures. There's the mount itself. You can see it's got a hole right there. So the mount can be low or high. So I've got it high. And then this rotates like a clock all the way around.
I see the dial, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Food for thought.
Yeah.
So anyway, any other thoughts or comments, questions?
Well, I'm
anything?
glad you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
99%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sorry about the crash, man, yeah.
It happens, you know, it bummed me out because I really wanted to go to COTA this weekend. I was
Right.
so anxious.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated, because
Learning from
Yeah.
all the mistakes.
Yeah, that's why we do this, you know.
yeah, so
absolutely.
if it can help you avoid a crash, then,
I'm working
It was
so
worth
hard in
it.
my body position. I'm working so hard now.
and now you guys also know now why body position is so important.
Super important, especially at those speeds we're getting. We're
When
reaching
you're at the
over-
edge
you're
of
right there,
traction.
but I'm reaching those speeds, and it's super important the body position now.
All yours,
I
man.
know,
Because
man. I
the
didn't know
same
you crashed,
track
man.
day,
Same
the
corner.
same day, same corner.
Did
Another
not know
buddy of
that.
ours went
Wow.
down.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, this is a little overview of my experience and everything. Just started riding back in November 5th, 2017 on the street. And of course, my very first track day, which is the top picture up there, at Crescent on the 1.3 mile. It's a wet, rainy, foggy day. That was on March 4th.
You're brave.
this year.
You face 1.3
It's
in
like
foggy
January.
conditions? Wow.
Yeah, that was brave.
And actually, I did go down on that day too.
No way.
Low-sided coming out of a turn.
3?
No,
No,
turn three,
5 going up?
It's way up on the very top before you top out on the straightaway to where you pit off on the 1.3. It's like the very last
Oh,
turn.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
right, that decreasing radius turn?
Yeah.
I scraped my left foot on that one.
And of course, I've got 9 track days total, 3 being in level 1. And between level 1 and level 2, I actually did a guest member day at
Sorry?
SRH.
Cool.
With no coaching or anything. It's just with one of the ladies that works down there.
Julie?
Julie Lopez,
Julie, yeah. I had 3 track days in level 2 also, and moved up into level 3. And so far, I had 2 level 3 track days, and my second track day at level 3 was just this past Sunday. And that's when I went down in the same turn that Jason did. Of course, my experiences was, the first session we went out and everything. Of course, level 3 you don't do the round runs or anything at all, so you don't get to take it at a little slower pace and everything like that. So my very first session out, actually going in to Sugar and Spice, like I was saying, there was that water in the track right at where pretty much close to where the X was. So I knew where the X's were before I got there because I've already ridden MSRH a whole lot more than any other track ever. But I come across the water, and as soon as I went through the water, when my tire did its full complete rotation, I felt the front tire literally slide. It might have felt like 3 inches, but it probably was only like 1 inch, but I could feel it slide. So from there on out, I would come in a little more shallower, and that leads me up into the second session out. I felt good, was going around, at my normal pace and everything, so I'm like, well, I need to push it just a little bit faster. And going into the same exact turn, the first apex going into Sugar and Spice. Right after I went through the apex, what I felt was like the bike was actually fading away from the normal line that it normally should. And I went down so soft that the pit marshal there at the tent, he said he saw me go down, and he said it was such a soft landing that I think I was kind of reviewing and going into my mind that I've actually seen plenty of MotoGP riders and everything, like when they're losing their fronts, they just kind of literally lay down on the ground so soft and just sort of almost like slide with the bike.
Right.
And that's pretty much what I did, and because I actually did more damage to my suit than what actually happened to my bike.
Okay.
And whenever I, of course, got up and everything, of course I had to wait a couple of times for the laps for the guys to go around before they actually, it was almost at the end of the session anyway, but when I came back into the pits, was checking out my bike and everything, and then went over to John Hutchinson, the suspension guy and everything, and of course this is the suspension off my bike. And before, back actually when I was actually at the guest member day at Houston, which I was still, I just moved from level 1 to level 2, I had John Hutchinson look at my suspension on my bike and everything, and he was checking everything out, and of course he suggested that I get a Owens rear suspension, which I did. Maybe 2 track days later and everything, got that changed out, and he told me that this is the original spring and everything that's inside. He told me that it will actually get me to the point to where wherever I get faster, if I want you know, once I get to that certain point, I'm gonna need to get the different spring and everything installed into my front forks and everything. And one of the things to do is use your, like, put a tie wrap around. And of course, you know, every session I'll always, you know, I'll kind of pull it up, you know, after every session. So that way, like, when you go into your braking, it's pushing your front forks down. And this literally is a gauge to show you how much your front forks is compressing and everything. So even when I went down in level 3, when I was pushing, going through the turns, I wished I actually did have my data logger and lap timer and everything then, so that way I can see the speed differences.
Right.
Because when I saw you put it up, I was like, man, I wished I had that, because I knew I was going in a little hotter, a little faster, but I have no
You
data
don't know how
to
much, yeah.
know how much. But right here, right about, probably right in here is the most of my front forks have actually compressed. And John Hutchinson told me that you actually need to be down at least there, or if not all the way down to the very bottom. Of course, the biggest thing, it depends on your braking and your entry speeds and everything like that.
Because then you're getting the full stroke of your
Yeah, you
spring and
need
your
to get the full,
suspension.
you're getting the full stroke of your spring, plus you're getting more contact patch on that front tire. So with it being.
You're pressing pressing a lot more in the tire.
Yeah, because the front of your bike dives down,
Mhm.
which puts more pressure on your front tire, which gives you more contact
I
patch
bet
and
it will.
everything. So with it being up here, you know, I wasn't getting the full contact patch that I actually
Right.
could have.
It was already on its way up, and you
Yeah.
were still turning.
Yeah, due to the due to
Mhm.
the springs that's in here, which today I just purchased the Olin's cartridge kit, which I had on order last week.
I was asking about your suspension, yeah.
Yeah, it was Tuesday right after the crash that you know, of course, John Hutchison was closed on Monday, so Tuesday, you know, I called him up Tuesday morning and got a price, which I already had prices from, you know, online stores and everything on Monday, but that's the biggest lesson I've learned is, of course, I should have thought about it, that, you know, now you're into level 3, you know, they told you back when you were jumping from level 1 to level 2 that your OEM springs is only going to get you so far. I mean, you can do all the adjustments and everything you want, but you need to actually have the tie wrap down here to give you that gauge. And of course, you know, going into level 3 and only getting it compressed that far, I should have went ahead and actually purchased the cartridge kit to where I can actually get more nosedive and downforce and contact patch and everything to actually get that traction in the front tire.
Because you can brake deeper, harder,
Yeah.
and trail brake, and you've got the full stroke to come back up, as opposed to braking deep, but you're already maxed out with your spring, and the thing that wants to pop back out,
The rebound.
Exactly.
and you haven't even hit the apex yet.
Yeah, it was the rebound. It's wanting to rebound back up,
Mhm.
and of course, you know, you're getting less and less contact patch from that front tire, which
Less
is, I
pressure.
think, probably, I'm guessing probably about 98% of the reason why I went down. But also too, that is that negative camber turn also too, but not quite. You know, it's not really negative camber right in the first part of the apex, but after you pass that, then that's when you start getting into the negative camber. The more, you know, the further you get to the X that they have between
In
the
the
first
middle,
and the
yeah.
second apexes of those turns.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the faster you go, the more important your suspension is.
So Roger did set up my suspension for me, and I have the zip tie as well. Mine goes a little bit lower, but not about maybe 2 millimeters lower, and that's it. After Roger setting up the suspension, so I'm thinking I probably do a visit, pay a visit to him on Saturday and see, hey Roger, this is what I'm getting. Should I get a better compression ratio on my suspension? And see
Yeah,
what he says.
that would be, you know, one of the things. You know,
Yeah.
you've already got the tire up there. I would definitely go back to him and say, look,
Yeah.
you know, this
This
is
is how much
as
it's
as
compressing.
It's compressing.
Yeah.
And of course, like I said, it needs to be down at least that bottom inch
Actually,
and a half.
instructor in his yard, Sean, what's his name? Sean, right? He showed me his on his Aprilia, and his zip tie is like maybe 2 millimeters
Yeah.
from the bottom end.
Yeah, the closer you are to the
Super
bottom,
close.
the better off it is.
Yeah.
But if you go out and every single time that it's like literally hard down to the bottom, then maybe you need to make an adjustment to make it a little bit stiffer. And of course, you know, if you make that adjustment, it it's a little stiffer and it actually brings it up to right there. So if you took it, you know, a half a turn, then take it out a quarter of a turn, and then that would put you right in a very sweet spot where it's not bottoming out every single time, but you know, yet you still don't have, you know, 2 or 3 millimeters left. You know, you just take it back, you know, take all your notes and everything that you can.
Yeah, Matt, that's a great point. So if you go like from ECR to COTA, you cannot keep your same suspension settings, your same compression and damping. Because for ECR, you need to really soften that thing up. For COTA, I crank my compression almost all the way to the max because it's so smooth and it keeps the tire, you know, the more compression you put on there, the stiffer, right, the less give the spring has. But for ECR, if you did that, you'd crash, you know, first lap.
Yeah, you got tracks.
It's got no give.
Bounce right off.
Yeah, you hit a bump and you'd be airborne.
Yeah, you've got the rougher tracks,
it's
you've
too
got the
much.
smoother
It's
tracks,
too
you've got
much, yeah,
the
yeah.
It's too
tracks.
stiff.
You've got the tracks that don't have the big, long, huge straights like COTA does, and you know, compared to MSR Houston to Crescent. You know, they, you know, heard a comment that they're actually thinking about allowing R3s into level 3 at Crescent next year, due to the fact that they don't have the long straights and everything like MSR Houston
Oh,
does.
okay.
Yeah.
So each track would kind of need a little bit of
Different
a
setting.
different setting for your suspensions and everything.
Right.
Another thing on the list. Learning about suspension.
Oh.
Adjustment.
Matt, you wanna use the other
It's
slide that you
exhausting
had
sometimes.
with the corner? Just hit the right arrow.
So many things.
Yeah, so far I'm letting Roger set up that suspension until I need to learn it myself.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
I
there's
guess
a
right
puddle
about
there.
in there is where the water was at the first session.
So you're trying to avoid
So
that,
I-
of course.
Come in a little shallower, you know, the second session. When I
Yeah.
come around, it was actually right about here is where I knew something was wrong, because instead of the bike staying on the line, going around through there, it was actually
15
drifting off.
Mm.
And actually, probably right about where the candy cane stripe is right there, you can't really see it. But it's the flat one right through there.
Little drop,
Yeah,
little
that's-
cliff.
Yeah, that's where, I mean, literally, maybe about a foot before that is when I hit the ground. And of course, slid across through here, and then when I let go of my bike, the pit marshal that was right here underneath the tent, he said he saw when I let go of the bike literally, I guess my right hand pulled on the handlebar a little bit, and the bike kind of stood up just an inch or two off the ground, and actually went across the track by itself.
Finished
Oh
off
my goodness, that was
Yeah.
okay.
It
Wow.
finished off the line.
Yeah, 'cause-
Finish the line for you.
I can do
Here,
this
Mark.
better than
Here,
you
Mark,
can.
Let me do it for you, man. No, no, catch
Let
it
me
later.
show you how you do this.
Because when I finished my roll, you know, it was like Jason actually was started in a slide, and then I spun sideways, and then I started to roll. And when I came up on my feet, my bike was going across the track in a curve, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, it's starting about to do
To
360
the
right in the
flips,
middle of
which
the
is the
ground.
worst case scenario you can have.
Because I was looking over my right shoulder, and then I saw a front tire of another bike, you know, come around, and of course my bike just hit the candy cane stripes right there, just plopped right over on the inside.
The other rider missed it by inches.
No, it was
Possibly?
probably about 2 feet, because I think what he did is when he saw my bike coming across the track, he kind of faded out, you know, stayed out wide, and went right around
Oh,
it.
okay.
I wonder if you got it on video.
I don't know, I
I'll
don't
check YouTube.
Right.
But one of the things I did see that they always stress, even level 1, 2, is what happens if you see another rider go down, or say your buddy went down. What do?
Keep going.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Don't stop.
I was in level 3. There was a rider in level 3, and what does he do?
He stops.
Probably
He stopped?
second lap. He stops and literally pulls his bike completely up in the grass, of course on the inside, it wasn't on the outside, but he stopped. And he's waving to the pit marshal back here, literally waving, because I guess he did not see him. They didn't have a yellow flag out. They did for the first 2 or 3 riders, but I think they figured that since my bike was on the inside of the track, it wasn't really a factor anymore, so they pulled the yellow flag out. And then that's when
He could have
stopped.
caused a wreck.
Yeah,
Yeah. Or
he
injured
literally
himself.
stopped, and he was, you know, right here in the grass. Of course, he was, you know, pointing, his bike was pointed here, and he's just waving, you know, to
That's
get their
bad.
attention.
Level 3 guy.
Yeah. And of course, I'm standing way over here. I'm like, you know,
Dude.
What the hell are you doing?
I was like, just, you know,
Just go.
just go. They know about me. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Hey Matt, this just gave me an idea. I think it's possible to overlay my GPS data on these Google Maps. I think there's a way where I could, the lines that I showed you,
There's gotta be a
Yeah.
way.
where I can overlay them. I'm gonna look at that tonight.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Because it's all GPS coordinates. It
How
should
did
be
you
accurate.
find
because
the
when
time
you-
to do all this shit, that dude? Seriously, I mean,
don't know. It's just
oh my
OCD.
goodness.
You're just obsessed.
Yeah, because that's when you pulled up your map and everything, and you mentioned you could see that, 10 miles an hour going back.
Man,
to
that'd be
pits
so
and everything.
helpful.
Yeah.
Well, whenever they, of course, they ended the session and everything, and of course, I had to grab my bike and we pushed it over here, and then I got it started and actually had to slowly ride it backwards. And of course, right back by everybody that was in level 2 getting ready to go
So
out.
you roll your bike back into the pits?
Yes.
Like it was fine, right? It was just scratched fairings and the
Yeah, I
frame
just
slider.
Yeah, of course, let's see. This is the way my bike is right now. This was very first track day, Crescent 1.3. This is my very first or second track day ever, the Crescent 1.7, literally the day right after this terrible day,
Yeah.
all the bad weather and everything. And of course,
It's
this
coming
was
down
what
from
my,
the rounds.
I repainted my bike, got the new fairings and everything on it. And of course, my first track day went down.
Yeah.
God.
But there were at least 2 other crashes on Sugar and Spice that day.
Yeah.
One in our level and there was another one in level 1.
And of course, the damage, you were talking about the damage, I had a little bit of a scratch right here. My vortex, peg on the outside was scratched a little bit. Of course, I have a Pug slider, which got damaged the most, and that actually saved the bike tremendously. And then I have just a little bit of scratching right there on that front fairing, and that's it.
So on the sliders, I mean, it's a 50-50 thing,
Yeah, it's a
right?
50-50 chance, just
Yeah.
depends on, if it stays on a flat surface,
Oh, just
Then it
slide.
works.
then it works.
But
But if there's
I mean, it
any
catches something.
gouges, any holes, or it goes from any, the hard surface into the grass or anything, then it could start catching, but it's a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, I opted to take off mine. I took them off. I use them to tie the bike down to the trailer, and then when they get to the truck, I just take them off. Take them off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool, just wrapping things up. Topics for next, I have no idea, to be determined, right? But
Yeah,
there's
sure.
always something, like I say, I come up with plenty of notes, there's always something to share here. If you guys come up with things or experiences or anything that you feel like we should be talking about here, let me know. If you are doing track days, I know you're at COTA, you're gonna be recovering.
I'm gonna be at home
Yeah, so
watching
just take your time.
Netflix.
Watching videos, you're gonna be watching our videos.
Watch
and-
MotoGP replays.
There
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.